I want to try to go over what has happened over the past several months and ask you parents, especially you parents, what now for education in Tennessee? Are we comfortable with the status quo? Are we frustrated with how all of this has worked out? Are you frustrated with your individual representatives or senators? Are you happy with the manner in which it worked out? For those that don't know, Governor Bill Lee came yesterday morning early and released a statement regarding universal school choice and the, quote, voucher bill in the state of Tennessee in the Legislative General Assembly. And he said, I'm extremely disappointed for the families who will have to wait yet another year for the freedom to choose the right education for their child, especially when there is broad agreement that now is the time to bring universal school choice to Tennessee. While we made tremendous progress, unfortunately, it has become clear that there is not a pathway for the bill during this legislative session. I want to thank the thousands of parents and students who made their voices heard. I've never been more motivated to provide them with the ability to choose what's best for their family. I also want to thank the speakers and leaders of both chambers for their commitment to pursuing education freedom next year. It's very simple. This is about every Tennessee student having the opportunity to succeed, regardless of their zip code or income level, and without question, empowering parents is the best way to make sure that happens. Signed, Governor Bill Lee. So in doing so, he announced that obviously there's no pathway forward this session. The session will be done by the end of the week. Prior to announcing the plan in November, there was a poll conducted by the Beacon Center of Tennessee showing that 69% of polled respondents approved at the time of the state's expansion of the education scholarship to a statewide level. Right now, it's utilized, I think, in Memphis, Nashville, and Chattanooga, I think, has an opportunity to do some of this as well. And this would expand it to include 20,000 scholarships. It was funded in the general fund. It was funded in the budget, but it was not initiated. It was not acted on by the Senate and the House. They could not come together on the issue. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Does that money just sit there?
Yes.
So it won't be used for anything?
The money's parked. Yes. It will not be. 140 some odd million dollars that was budgeted and will be parked until one believes next year. I want to especially talk to, and I don't want to argue with anyone about it. I mean, this session, it's done. I am fascinated with those that claimed previous to this initiative that they wanted more competition and choice within our public school systems or within our schooling generally. Where are you on the issue of education now? I'm talking about those that follow the likes of Gary Humble and the Tennessee Stands organization, those that follow the likes of Brandon Lewis and the Tennessee Conservative News Organization down in Chattanooga. These are two organizations, and I point them out specifically because I don't like throwing rocks and hiding hands. I don't do that on my show. So I'm not here to call people out. I'm just trying to explain to those of you in Aniana what's really going on. Because these conservative groups that claim to be in favor of school choice 2 or 3 or 4 years ago are now steadfastly against this. And I'm wondering why and what exactly they're in favor of now. Are they for the status quo? If you were against this legislation because you believed that it would somehow give the state dominion over private education, then what now then? 1063 immediately responds and says, you never listened to them. I'm listening right now. I'm willing to talk right now to those of you who were against this, but you consider yourself a conservative, and I'm asking you, what do you want? What do you want? Public education is dying on the vine. I've taken a stand that I believe we need to have a conversation about what role the federal government and the state government should have in educating your children at all. My purpose was to infuse a level of competition within the system that currently does not exist, and to give parents more tools in their educational toolbox to offer themselves more opportunity to get a better education for their children, regardless of their income levels. 1063, I'm listening to you right now. Call me at 615-737-9986 and tell me their position on it. Gary Humble can call me. He has never graced me with his presence on my radio show. He goes on other shows and will not come on mine. That's fine. We've had Brandon Lewis on in the past talking about things that we agree on, like illegal immigration. I just don't understand where these so-called purity conservative groups are on the issue of school choice. Are you comfortable with public education as it exists, or are you not? Do you want to initiate change, or do you not? If you want to initiate change and this was not the bill for you, okay, I'm willing to talk to you about what you want to see. What more do you want? How do you want to approach this moving forward? Or are you just against something because of who's for it? Which I fear is what is happening right now. You're going to be against anything Bill Lee stands for, and that's not good policy. That's not good politics. That's being dishonest. $1063, all I can tell you from the super text to Members Nutrition super text line is call me and state your position, and I'll give you uninterrupted time to tell me where you are on any of this. 1063 says, you keep doing the same thing about them. You never actually listen to what they say when it comes to the governor and how he's able to fix public school, but he doesn't. I don't know what that means. I thought this was about the governor attempting to do something with regard to public schools to infuse competition within the system. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to listen to anyone that has solutions for public education. Or I'm willing to listen to you if you tell me that you're perfectly fine with the way public education is. I fear that a lot of what happened with this bill was that you did not see support in areas that needed to support this legislation because those areas are perfectly fine with their educational opportunities in the public school system. If you're in Williamson County, you like what you have in public schools because your public school is well funded because you're funding it from a local perspective. And I don't begrudge you that. You're also the beneficiary of a general population where parents are involved in their kids' education to the point where you don't have some of the problems that other public school systems have. We're trying to think broadly about how to solve the problem for the entire state of Tennessee as opposed to micromanaging your business in Williamson County. Nobody's trying to get in your business. And, of course, I use Williamson County as an example. Not as the sole example, but just one example. I have yet to be able to ascertain from a conservative perspective what the alternatives for you are. It seemed to me that the conservatives that were against this, these organized groups that were against it because of who was for it. And while they were in favor of school choice for a period of time, they chose to stand against it because there were certain players in the mix that they just don't like. Leftists don't matter in any of this. Now, I know some names of individuals that stymied the deal in the General Assembly. I don't know that it merits tilling that ground again necessarily. although we could. I mean, there's one in particular that keeps coming up, a name of an individual that some are telling me lied to them regarding where he was on the legislation and then decided to go the other way. I just don't look at, I'm 50 years old. I don't know that I have a stake in this, in as much as I don't have children within the system and it seems perhaps never will. I mean, if I ever had any kids, I wouldn't put them in the public education system. I promise you that. It's too fraught with peril. I'm not going to give to the government an opportunity to indoctrinate my children. But what I would like to see is the betterment of society through educational opportunity. I would like to see parents with more opportunity to make certain decisions, absent the financial burden of having to do so, absent the double paying that exists when you pay your taxes and then send your kid to private school. I'd like to see parents have more monetary control over the schooling of their children. Yes, Andrea, I'm 50. Well, you thought I was older, didn't you? Thought I was like 70. I feel it sometimes. Tell me what your big beef with this was. I have a feeling that some of my friends in the purity conservative movement don't really know. They were just told to be against it because Bill Lee was for it, and Bill Lee is evil, according to them. Or the Republican majority in the General Assembly is evil, according to them.